time, we are going to talk about personality processes and their historical groups. Last time I kind of gave you a broad roadmap / overview of where we're going, and I realized that I left my email on not mute. So, oops, because we've started recording, and if I move away, alright, let's move away and deal with that. I know. We just close the window. Boom, problem solved. Okay, so yeah, we're talking about personality processes and their historic roots. So personality processes, as you may recall, are kind of the mechanisms through which personality unfolds. These mechanisms unfold over time to produce the effects of personality traits. They include perception, thought, motivation, emotion. They also include behavior, but this lecture is not going to talk too much about behavior, but I felt like mentioning it because I did. And these kind of processes end up being kind of like a sequence of steps through which a personality trait expresses itself to produce an outcome. So why are these useful? Because it's helpful to understand the mechanism, rather than just say they're extroverted. Understanding the processes to lead to that extroversion and how extroversion is expressed is really important to understand. They also kind of give us the foundations for interventions. If we can identify what are the specific thoughts, emotions, perceptions, behaviors that lead to outcomes we're interested in improving, such as why is it that agreeable kids are less likely to get bullied? We can identify those mechanisms, we can intervene. Not by teaching all kids to be agreeable, but to understand if there are specific actions that they're taking, if they're just not reacting, if they are just so nice that the bully decides to go elsewhere, or if it's just that the bully doesn't get the reaction they want. So understanding the specific mechanisms above and beyond what the trait is and how, like, that it, in fact, that it does relate to some outcome you want, is really helpful to identify the specific processes and mechanisms. And for those of you who are interested in personality change, either from a personal, like, self-help development, this is the module that'll be really helpful in identifying specific things you can change, or at least focus on improving to in turn get the personality change you want. Alright, so let's talk historic roots. So there are lots of them. From a learning perspective, like Pavlov, Watson, etc., we can understand some mechanisms, but those are kind of like stimulus response aspects. Instead, we're going to focus a bit more on the cognitive processes, which is more the social learning framework rather than the classic operant conditioning framework, such as interpretation, evaluation, and decision making. And we will also cover a bit of phenomenology, which emphasizes the important ways in which an individual thinks about the world, because these ways that they think about the world end up shaping both personality and behavior and just how your trait is expressed. Alright, so you may remember some of these from previous modules. The psychoanalytic approach covers kind of levels of consciousness and the need for compromise. The biological approach focuses on how representations of the self may organize the brain. And the trait approach, which has been the lens through which a lot of this class is focused and used as a framework, the idea is that people have different traits, and those traits are based on different thoughts, feelings, and desires, behaviors, that whole shtick. And the idea is that people see the world differently, which in turn affects their reactions to events and their own behaviors. So that's the idea with the trait approach in here. But all the different paradigms that we have covered in this class express themselves here, as well as paradigms that we haven't covered. In addition, like cross-cultural psych can illustrate how the same personality traits may be expressed differently depending on the cultural context. So that was the basic historical foundation. Again, I know I'm covering broad strokes here, and I encourage you to check out the book for more specific detail, but at least it gives you some sense of where we're at. All the pieces that we've been putting into place so far in this class lend themselves to the specific personality processes. Really, any module that we've covered so far has some place here. And so this is a nice reminder. So next time, we're going to talk about processes in perception for personality psychology. So I will see you there. Bye-bye. Oh, shit. No. Okay, I did not fall, but it was close. So we might stop doing this gimmick and just go to the next slide. Sorry. I have to entertain myself. One of these days I'm going to fall over and it's going to be on film. And y'all will get to see it because why not?